For me, I only really know somewhat about in-game Machan. I don't know a whole lot about the IRL horse Machan, other than she died really young. So I don't know if Pyrrhix is going to cover the actual horse or the in-game character. Either way, I love the character and I love the horse, so I'm ready to learn.
それでは、改めまして、自己紹介をしましょう。こんにちは、アストンマーちゃんです。よろしくね。
She just wants to be a super ultra mega deluxe mascot.
In Uma Musume, the drive is always present to obtain an ever-growing pool of Umas to race. Even if a player is unable to obtain a specific character, information regarding them can still be found in the game's trainer notes. Though a brief overview, with some features still locked, the player can still view Umas they've yet to obtain, with most being unreleased in the global version. These Umas are added if a player has either encountered or raced against them in their careers. This is the case for all but one Uma, who doesn't appear unless pulled. Until that point, she ceases to exist in that world. So why is this the case? Why does this Uma Musume remain hidden despite the strong urge to be remembered? Who is this Uma? And what was the career of the racehorse she was modeled after? Today, I intend to dive into these topics and present to you a story of regret and remembrance, a rivalry that never was, and a memory fleetly fading with time.
Oh, she's just standing in the background while the others are having their little disagreement.
This is a story of Aston Machan, a legacy that
I love her little doll. I don't know why, but it's absolutely adorable.
will never be forgotten. This video will act as one of two parts covering both the real-life history and Uma Musume version of Aston Machan and
Oh, okay, so he's going to cover both in one video. I was wondering, because sometimes he covers the in-game Uma, and sometimes he covers the actual horse. So it looks like he's mixing both into one.
her career. This video will mainly focus on real-life events with some Uma Musume tie-ins. Machan's story is a roller coaster, and I plan to release a full in-game analysis when she's available for global players.
When is Machan coming to global? That's not going to be a long time, right? At least I want to say over a year. I could be wrong, though.
So they may experience it for themselves. So, first and foremost, let's tackle the main topic at hand. Why is Aston Machan presented in the first episode of Uma Musume's third season? Specifically, with shots revolving around Daiwa Scarlet and vodka. She has
Wait, that's kind of creepy. How she just appears in the background without saying a single thing, almost like a ghost.
no speaking roles and just stares into the camera. Aston Machan was active during the same time as Daiwa Scarlet and Vodka. As her history unfolds in this video, you will see why she slowly was forgotten. Every Uma present in the game have their real-life identities acquired through licensing agreements with various horse owners. This is often facilitated directly by the JRA. Some owners will simply allow their horses to be represented, while others will have specific requests they'd like implemented in the game and anime series. For Aston Machan,
I wonder, has anyone ever made a video about each Uma and their owner's respective requests for allowing their Uma to be used in the game? That's a good video idea for people that make Uma Musume content. There you go. I put that one out there for free. Anyone who watches this that wants to make that video.
her Uma Musume counterpart was supervised heavily by her original owner. Machan is the only Uma to break the fourth wall in this series, directly staring into the camera, or shuffling her way into shots if the camera pans or cuts away from her. This is an attempt for her to never be forgotten, a statement which she is absolutely obsessed with. During instances where Machan is the main focus of a scene in the game, she'll always be staring straight at the camera, as if she's not speaking to any other in-world characters, but instead to you as the player, directly requesting you to remember her and not be forgotten. Aston Machan
She's
was a mare
adorable.
born on March 5, 2004, at the Shadai farm in Hokkaido. Her sire was Admire Kazin, and her dam Rustling Copes. Kozin was a two-time G1 winner both at the Asahi High Futurity Stakes and the Yasuda Kinen. Aston Machan would be among the first crop of Admire Kozin. From birth, the farm personnel had evaluated Machan as a horse of great potential. Due to this, Machan was placed in one of many JRA select sales, where promising foals are put up for sale to be acquired by various owners. It was highly believed that with the promising evaluation, Machan would be purchased in no time. What was unexpected was the individual who would purchase Machan. Even with an impressive evaluation, initially, Machan found no potential buyers. This was mainly due
why?
to the fact of her being the first crop of Kozin offspring.
So they didn't know if that horse's offspring were going to be successful or not. So in a way, it was a little bit of a gamble. I see.
Previous data was available, which deferred many potential buyers. Eventually, Aston Machan was purchased by Dr. Mayumi Tosa, who was a female physician. Machan would be, according to available records, the first horse owned and raced by Mayumi, who at the time was still a widely unknown name in the world of horse racing. The name Aston Machan comes from a combination from the British luxury car brand Aston Martin, alongside Mayumi's school nickname of Machan.
You know what? Chat told me that before, and it's just weird to me because I didn't expect that for the horse to be a mix of the name of the car and the lady's nickname. So that was interesting to learn.
Mayumi was a fan of James Bond, and wanted her newly acquired mare to run as fast as the car driven by him, the Aston Martin.
That makes sense.
Aston Machan, following the acquisition by Mayumi, would be placed in the Rito Training Center, where she'd eventually be paired with Sei Ishizaka. Like many others, Ishizaka was skeptical of Machan's potential, being the first crop of Kozin offspring. During the training that followed, and despite the mass skepticism, Machan showed great potential. She was incredibly light on her feet, allowing her to show excellent speed as training progressed. Machan was also a fast learner, being among the most advanced group in terms of progress leading to her 2-year-old year. Just like her name, both Mayumi and Ishizaka believed that Machan could perform well even in state-graded races. On July 22, 2006, Aston Machan entered the Kokura racecourse for her debut. Though Machan showed promising speed during training, it was still unclear what racing aptitude suited her best.
I believe.
For this race, Machan would also be ridden by the renowned jockey Yutaka Take.
Of course, the legend himself.
Machan would be second favorite even with Take as her jockey and her impressive speed. The favorite was Charmant Rennie, jockeyed by Ryuji Wada. Though second favorite, the odds difference was minimal between the two racers. Take decided to use this as an opportunity to teach Machan how to race, easing her into the scene rather than forcing her to go all out. A racehorse can show promising talent, but having an exceptional jockey can only elevate that performance. Over the course of the race, Take kept steady pace of Machan, and on the final homestretch, a fierce battle erupted between the two favorites.
Win your debut.
Machan would ultimately lose this race to Rennie, and a new discovery would be unveiled about Machan as well.
Aw, so close.
At the final homestretch, Machan, as Take recounts, seemed startled and began losing focus, drifting outward as the race progressed. This caused Machan to be overtaken. She struggled with concentration, and this was something that her trainer took note of, aiming to help her overcome this hurdle alongside her. Even though she placed second, it was clear that Machan could perform well in short-distance races. Due to this, the following 3 races Machan would participate in would range from 1200 to 1400 meters, and the results only act to solidify her strength in short-distance racing. In her second race, the 2-year-old maiden, Machan would hang in second place, and alongside Wada, overtake the leading position, securing a victory by a half length.
At
the knee-size stakes, Machan's third race, something extraordinary quickly unfolded. Samejima, a relatively new jockey, kept Machan in second place, pacing her until the final homestretch. This strategy was the same Samejima had used with another horse of Ishizaka's stable, Paradise Bird. As they approached the final 200 meters, Machan challenged her first place position, and before long, overtook the lead, securing a confident victory.
There we go.
To the audience, Machan was strong. She blitzed past the leading position, but she didn't look like she was anywhere near her limit. Machan's fourth race, the Fantasy Stakes, would once more pair her with Take. This race was Machan's longest distance in her career, being 1400 meters. Now, before you go commenting that the change in aptitude is minor, it plays a great impact specifically on horses adept to shorter aptitudes. Unlike sprint races, which Machan had been participating in, a horse cannot simply run at full speed from start to finish without issue. Mile distances and greater act to test a horse's cardiovascular endurance and energy conservation. For horses with limited stamina, burst acceleration, or haste to run away, mile races and beyond are simply out of reach. The media, who had praised Machan for her speed, were now divided with her participation in the Fantasy Stakes.
Oh, so they're doubting her? Show a Machan.
As the race began, it was visibly clear that Take was trying to keep Machan calm,
First
forcing
place,
her
let's
to retain
go.
a steady pace. Had Take not attempted to control Machan, she would have surged to the front as she'd done many times before. Even a well-seasoned jockey like Take struggled to keep Machan restrained until they reached the final homestretch. As they approached the final straight, Take allowed Machan to run freely, and she did not disappoint, boasting a display of explosive acceleration. Machan easily broke away from the rest of the
Look
pack
at that.
and won the
Look
Fantasy
at that. See ya later. Eat my dust.
Stakes by 5 lengths over the second place recipient.
That was an impressive lead.
This wasn't only a staggering victory, but also a record-setting time of 1 minute 20.3 seconds. This victory not only relieved Take, but also Aston Machan's trainer and owner. This 200-meter difference didn't cause Machan a devastating loss, but instead provided a glimpse into a bright future to come in her career. In the game following this race, Aston Machan will ask the player, "Did your heart race? Were you excited?" The simple answer is yes.
Of course.
The fans, Take, Mayumi, and Ishizaka were all overjoyed by Machan's stealth.
Wait, why is Machan smiling at us? Look at that big grin. I never seen a horse grin at me. That's a first.
Performance. Take would later comment on Machan's performance in the Fantasy Stakes, and his reasoning behind holding Machan back for so long. At this point, the media was already drumming up Aston Machan's name. She was an incredibly strong filly, and many believed that she had the capabilities of winning the upcoming Oka Sho, the first leg of the Triple Tiara. The record time was already impressive, but what was even more staggering to witness was Machan's ability to distance herself by 5 lengths with ease over a mere 100 meters. Take would state that he was all too aware of Machan's inability to retain focus, and due to this, he'd wait until the last possible moment to allow her to fully burst forward. Machan had a tendency to let her mind wander.
I mean, obviously he's a jockey legend, but just to know that if he let the horse run wild, she probably would have tired herself out. So to control her until that last moment and then letting her run with speed just goes to show how impressive of a jockey Yutaka Take is.
So Take did all he could to remain vigilant and lead Machan for a majority of the race. Though Take would state that Machan appeared to have eased her way into racing, and this race in particular did yield results, he also would state that as the competition got stronger, Machan's lack of concentration would be her greatest weakness. Take would continue, addressing Machan's aptitude. Though she was fast in the final 100 meters, Take observed that Machan simply wanted to rush forward, and due to this, he concluded that her best distance would most likely remain at 1200 meters. A month later, on December 3rd, 2006, Aston Machan would participate in the Hashin Juvenile Fillies, her first participation in a G1 race. Once more, Take would take the reins, ready to guide Machan to another victory and overcome her lack of concentration. This race would be 1600 meters in length, and due to Machan's previous Fantasy Stakes win, her team was confident that she could display her monstrous speed even with a 400-meter difference over her preferred aptitude. Machan would be the favorite to win.
I believe in her. There's no way she loses.
Sitting at a 1.6 to 1 odds. As the race began, right out of the gate, Machan attempted to surge forward. Even with his vast experience, Take still struggled to manage her, eventually calming her and positioning themselves in 5th place along the inside of the course. fans were seeing once more both Machan's speed and Take's expertise in action.
Yup.
Sticking close to the rails until the final corner, Take kept control of Machan, and down the final straight,
Lets her fly.
Take broke through the leading group and Machan surged forward. Just like the fantasy stakes, they began distancing the lead horses. But unlike the fantasy stakes, this time, a new challenger would emerge.
Ooh.
From the far outside pursued a dark bay filly, one displaying a monstrous spurt to catch
Wait, is that vodka?
the leading position. Soon, a head-to-head duel began between Machan and this dark bay filly, and ultimately, Machan would lose by a neck. The horse who challenged Machan's incredible speed and proved victorious was named Vodka.
I knew it. Funnily enough, the way I was able to tell, the lightning bolt is what gave it away.
Vodka, though at the time still widely unknown, was a racehorse capable of strong performances. Utilizing longer strides inherited from her sire, Tiny No Gimlet, she showed a clear display of potential, defeating Machan in this race. Vodka wasn't the favorite, but sat fourth to win this race. Vodka also had recently entered the racing scene, only debuting a month before racing off against Machan. This race would be the beginning of a dominant presence in the racing world by Vodka, one that would redefine her generation and leave a lasting impact on the world of horse racing. Vodka was strong, but her jockey, Hirofumi Shi, was also a well-seasoned jockey in his own regard. She had ridden Agnes Digital in the 2001 Autumn Tenno show, ending the legendary reign of the Overlord, TM Opera O. Reflecting on this defeat, the normally calm and collected Take would comment, "The opponent was just too strong."
I mean, yeah, vodka's surging ability, especially in that race. How do you even expect that explosive power from behind that I don't think anyone could have predicted or prepared for? It was honestly just impressive, and as, well, he said himself, the opponent was just too strong.
She's strong. Aston Machan's training assistant, Kazuya Ueda, also would state, she, Machan, was born in the wrong era. Though harsh, these words sadly would hold true. Aston Machan being born
That's crazy to have said that just after that one loss. And obviously, in retrospect, they were right, but at the time to have said that was a little preemptive, in my opinion.
not only in the same era as Vodka, but also Daiwa Scarlet, two names that you're familiar with, so it's quite ironic how the name Aston Machan remained foreign until you watch this video. It's a perfect example of Ueda's comment. Aston Machan was neither weak nor incapable. In fact, she was far from it. Although she was strong, the juvenile fillies race proved that there were opponents far stronger, ones who would lead on to define their era. Trainer Ishizaka would take this loss as a lesson, confident Machan could still handle 1600-meter races, and still had high hopes for her 3-year-old racing year. Their next aim would be the Oka Sho, but the question still remained. Could Machan win over such strong opponents? With 2006 coming to a close, Machan would race 5 total times, placing first in 3 and second in 2, an impressive record for her 2-year-old year. As 2007 began, Aston Machan would race in the Fillies Review held on March 11th. This race, alongside the Tulip Show, is regarded as one of the 2 major trial races for the Oka Sho. The review is 1400 meters in length, 200 meters shorter than the juvenile fillies race Machan participated in the previous year. Machan's rival, Vodka, had also won the Tulip Show the previous week, setting the stage for Machan to prove herself in the second trial race leading up to the Oka Sho. Unsurprisingly, Take remained as Machan's jockey, and Machan once more was the overwhelming favorite to win. Take, just like he did previously, restrained Machan from bursting forward straight out of the gate, easing her into 3rd place as the race continued. Allowing Machan to fully spurt down the final straight, she quickly overtook the lead effortlessly.
My thoughts are, would the downside of letting Machan just run wild at the start, would that just drain too much of the horse's endurance and make them not be able to continue onward? Or would that have made them such a strong leader that they could have ran away with the whole race? I'm assuming the safer option would be to control the horse's stamina by not letting them run wild And then when you get later into the races, when you kind of let them free. And I wonder if that is the smarter option. Probably is.
claiming a victory by 2.5 lengths over the second place recipient, Amano Cherry Run. Even with this victory, and redemption from her previous defeat, something didn't sit right with Take. After the race, he commented that Machan has too much speed. Though it could be seen as a compliment, it was not a statement of unqualified praise. Take didn't simply state that Machan was fast, but the fact that she was too fast. Her uncontrollable urge to run at full speed straight out of the gate consumed far too much stamina, making increased distances difficult for her to overcome.
Well, there you go. I guess that answered my theorizing of why not just letting the horse run full out and control it. It probably would tire it out too soon. Well, there you go.
According to Take, there were many things Machan still needed to learn in racing. The Oka Sho will be on the outer track and the competition fierce. Even with these comments, trainer Ishizaka would still hold hope in winning the Oka Sho. When faced with the media, he advised them to share the reality of Machan's situation and not simply her triumphs. This was an ever-growing uphill battle, and despite being best suited for 1200-meter races, her team pushed forward to have her compete in greater distances. As the Oka Sho rapidly approached, horse racing journalists analyzed the filly rankings and produced their findings. At the top spot, undisputed, stood Vodka, as an overwhelming favorite with 99 points. Below Vodka was Daiwa Scarlet, standing at 94. And below both of them stood Aston Machan, tied in third place with 83 points,
Machan.
with Excuse and Nishino Charmy. Vodka's evaluation was overwhelming, and her status as the main favorite for the Oka Sho remained unshaken. Scarlet, who sat one place under Vodka, had only narrowly lost to her at the Tulip Show. Even so, Scarlet was still highly regarded due to her exceptional pedigree, being a granddaughter of Sunday Silence and the progeny of Agnes Tachyon. As stated before, Machan, due to her sprinting aptitude, was simply born in the wrong generation. She wasn't adept to greater distances, and to top it all off, she shared the racecourse with two monsters of her generation. Even with her strength, Machan began to fade into their shadow.
Aww. She was just unlucky and born in the wrong generation, just like many of the other great Umas.
On April 8, 2007, Aston Machan would enter the racecourse against these two era-defining mares. Vodka, jockeyed by Hirofumi Shi, stood as the overwhelming fan favorite with a 1.4 to 1 odds. Aston Machan, once more jockeyed by Yutaka Take, stood second at a 5.2 to 1 odds. Under Machan was Daiwa Scarlet, jockeyed by Katsumi Ando, who stood at a 5.9 to 1 odds. It is important to note that in this race, the fourth horse, Shonan Talent, would stand at a staggering 34.7 to 1 odds.
I'm going to try and use my memory. Now, mind you, my memory is molded, rusted, and covered in dirt, but I think the winner of this race was Daiwa Scarlet. So let's see if I remember correctly or not. Probably not.
And fifth favorite, Emmy's Smile, stood at 44.6 to 1. It was obvious, even if evaluated lower than Vodka and Scarlet, many still saw Machan's potential to emerge victorious at the Oka Sho. The audience expected to see a fierce three-way battle for the finish, with these three favorites each pushing the other to their limit. The truth is, two would live up to that expectation, with one falling further behind in their shadow.
No.
This race in particular is a primary reason for Machan's appearance in Uma Musume as a background character to Scarlet and Vodka, a ghost who never utters a single word, yet demands the viewers' undivided attention. Unlike previous races, Take wouldn't be able to restrain Machan. Showing her usual temperament, defying Take, Machan would run at full speed to second place approaching the final corner. Crossing into the
So he couldn't calm Machan down in this race. That's why she probably struggled so much.
final homestretch, Machan would drift further behind. Take, who had already expressed his concern with Machan on longer aptitudes, would once more comment that Machan continued to show sprinter tendencies. Had she run smoothly with the flow of Take's guidance, he had full belief that she could have contested both Vodka and Scarlet at the Oka Sho. Scarlet emerged victorious, with Vodka narrowly taking second place. This would mark the shift in their generation, with Scarlet and Vodka trailblazing a
Hey, look at that. My memory actually worked for once. I didn't know that was possible.
legacy together, while Aston Machan would be forced to follow a different path. It had become clear that Machan thrived in sprints, but the devastating loss at the Oka Sho
Oh, she got 7th in the Oka Show. Damn, that's rough. I'm assuming because she burned all of her stamina early because he couldn't control her, the jockey.
only acted to solidify this thought. Even with Take at the reins, races beyond that aptitude were not suitable for Machan at all. After the Oka Sho, Aston Machan's team decided to give her a long break and plan for the future. This break would last from April to July in 2007. As Machan rested, her rivals would continue to make history. Vodka would be the first mare in 64 years to win the Tokyo Yushun, the Japanese Derby, and Scarlet would not only win the Oka Sho, but would go on later in that year to win the Shuka Sho as well. Heeding Take's previous assessment on Machan, the path was set to pursue a career of only sprint races, staying true to Machan's natural aptitude. On August 12, 2007, Machan will return to the racing scene, participating in the Kitakyushu Kinen, a G3 sprint race.
Okay, so they did put her back in sprints. I was going to say, were they going to try and put her back into another 1600, or are they going to swap her back to sprints?
Her jockey this time was Yasunari Iwata, who had previously won his first graded race with Believe. Machan was the overwhelming favorite, sitting at a 1.8 to 1 odds. As the race began, Machan showed great promise, displaying to the audience the difference between her behavior in this race to her longer distance ones. She displayed her natural speed, and while other experienced sprinters struggled to push forward, Machan would continue her confident pace. As they hit the final home stretch, Machan would fall behind, with 5 racers in total
Oh, she didn't do her regular thing of flying forward?
surpassing her. This ultimately resulted in Machan placing 6th, and left many questions for her team to tackle. This stage should have been
6th. She should have won this one. I wonder what went wrong.
ideal for her. So why did she falter? Was this not her preferred aptitude? Was the team's guidance wrong? A dominating display in her 2-year-old year left one answer: the fact that she had matured early, and now her performance began to plateau. Lingering concerns also existed of overcorrection.
She peaked too soon.
Perhaps her time with Take and longer aptitudes resulted in mental instability. With lingering concerns, the team was forced to press onward to their main target, yet another G1 race, the Sprinters Stakes. On September 30th, 2007, that day would finally arrive.
Come on.
This was Machan's opportunity
Let's
to
go,
redeem
Machan.
herself and prove her mastery in sprint races. In preparation for this race, Machan had practiced more on slope-based tracks, aiming to strengthen her body. Over time, her results became visibly clear. Her muscle mass increased, and she rose 10 kilograms in the course of a month.
Oh, she bulked up for this race.
For the Sprinter Stakes, Aston Machan wouldn't be jockeyed by Yutaka Take. Take had already previously agreed to riding Suzuka Phoenix in the very same race. Phoenix, who was owned by Keiichi Nagai, the same owner of Silent Suzuka, had a long-standing relationship with Take. Due to the current circumstances, Machan would be jockeyed by Eiji Nakadate. This proved to be peculiar for many fans, seeing as Nakadate had been active over 10 years earlier, and was the main jockey for the Great Filly Hishi Amazon.
Oh.
Even into the 2000s,
Interesting.
he remained a top jockey, ranking among the top 10 nationwide. This mainly came as a shock, since at this point in his career, Nakadate primarily only rode local tracks. Nakadate had claimed many wins in regional races,
So he was essentially nearly retired at this point. Interesting.
even achieving 100 wins in a year, but these days, it was rare to see him in a Central G1 race. Of course, this unexpected addition garnered the question, why him? As conversation continued, skepticism quickly grew to excitement. Eventually, the common answer was reached. Nakadate would allow Aston Machan to take the lead and be a true front runner. You see, Nakadate
See, that's what I was wondering earlier, but I just assumed that Machan would tire herself out. But if it is a shorter race, then being a front runner might be more suitable and more towards her style.
wasn't only the jockey for Hishi Amazon, but another horse you're all too familiar with from Uma Musume, a front-running horse that ran with everything they had.
The speed gremlin.
An unprecedented front-running strategy that would even defeat Rice Shower. Nakadate was the main jockey for Twin Turbo, and of all types of running, he was well known as a master front runner. The team behind Machan fully intended to unleash her abundant sprinting ability, and utilizing
I'm
one of
ready to
Japan's
see this.
best in the field, they had their sights set to win the Sprinter Stakes. Up until this point, Machan had run cautiously, but that caution was thrown aside to allow Machan to do what she defiantly attempted so many times before, to run to her heart's content. There was no turning back, and the team, alongside Ishizaka, had taken precaution to ensure this transition went smoothly. The track this time would be heavy due to rain, a condition requiring brute strength to overcome. Luckily for Aston Machan, her team had already trained her to possess that monstrous strength required.
That's why she bulked up. They prepared.
As the gates opened, Longren, jockeyed by Hirofumi Shi, exploded out of the gate, displaying a perfect start to the Sprinter Stakes. Even this start would be easily surpassed though. Unleashing all her power and unrestricted by her jockey, Machan made an incredible push to the front, easily surpassing and overtaking Longren. This was shocking to everyone watching. This wasn't a debut race. This was a G1, with every horse being a top racer in terms of speed and acceleration.
You know, that's actually a good point. I didn't really consider that. They're essentially testing an unknown variable and completely just throwing out their best guess of what might happen in a G1. This isn't some small race. This isn't some local race. This is a G1, and they're just like, oh, let's bulk the horse up and make it front run. Why not? See what happens. I kind of respect that.
Even with this roster of expert sprinters, Machan had surpassed them all. She was faster than them all. Even with the heavy track conditions, Machan led. Nakadate's guidance finally allowed Machan to fully thrive on the course. She maintained her lead uncontested, keeping 3 lengths between her and second position. This lasted until the final homestretch, where she'd extend that lead to 4 lengths. As pursuers narrowed the gap, Machan crossed the finish line. From start to finish, she yielded her lead to no one. After so many
Damn,
trials
that's
and so much
impressive.
hardship, Aston Machan had finally claimed her long-awaited G1 victory.
You could tell, though, that she was tiring out. I'm going to go back. You can see right at this last little bit when the horses are catching up to her, you could see her stride slowing down, but she had just enough of a lead to clinch the win, but you could tell that she was definitely tiring out.
And so much hardship,
Right there, you can see slowly the head bobbing a bit.
Aston Machan had finally claimed her long-awaited G1 victory, establishing herself as a new sprint queen. This race will also be a milestone for Nakadate, winning his first G1 race in 13 years. He
That's
later
cool,
stated
too.
that he'd have his own strategy to have Machan win, but Ishizaka simply told him to bring out Machan's full power. No restrictions, no stress, just ride in a relaxed
Just full unlimited power.
position. Nakadate was extremely grateful to Ishizaka for this request, allowing him to reignite the passion he had to race on a big stage. To say the response from Machan's team was emotional would be an understatement. Nearly every single member were on the verge of tears for Machan's win, finally being able to see her full potential after so many roadblocks in her career. Even though she would never stand aside Vodka or Scarlet, she had made her mark, claiming a victory on the greatest stage for Japan's sprinters. Aston Machan was still a 3-year-old horse, and it had been 15 years since a horse that young had claimed a victory at the Sprinter Stakes.
Oh, nice. So she accomplished something which hadn't been done in 15 years.
a horse that young had claimed a victory at the Sprinter Stakes. Only Nishino Flower had done the same before in 1992, making Machan the second 3-year-old horse ever to win. Machan was also younger than Flower at this time, making her the youngest horse in Japan's history to win, only elevating the accolades. Even with this monumental victory, it sadly will remain in the shadow of the two super fillies of her generation. Sadly, as we've seen many times before, with this victory would come a tragic downfall. Her 10th race would be at the Swan Stakes, where alongside Nakadate, she'd devastate the audience and finish 14th. With Machan being a young horse, expectations were still high to see a turn in her career in the Hong Kong Sprint in December. Equine influenza forced Machan to withdraw, and once more, it was announced that she'd rest for the remainder of the year.
So she got sick and had to rest. But sadly, we already know the future. Well, if you know, you know. But if you don't know, well, we're about to find out.
On February 10th, 2008, Aston Machan entered the Silk Road Stakes, this time accompanied once more by Yutaka Take. Instead of trying to ease into longer distances, Take would allow Machan to show her full strength in her preferred 1200 meter distance. Even with this once more being Machan's specialized aptitude, she'd ultimately place 10th. Even Take was unsure of what had
10th?
occurred. Unlike before, he hadn't felt anything off with Machan, nor did he act to hold the reins to command her to pace. Like previous evaluations, Machan was still young, and only showed potential to grow as her team planned to race her in the Takamatsunomiya Kinen in March. Following this, her team had high hopes and planned to race her overseas.
I wonder why she just had such giant swings in her placement. Sometimes she would perform really well and get first, second. Then other times she would get like 8th, 10th. I wonder if there was ever an explanation as to why that was the case.
But that did not happen. A newspaper article published in April 2008 would be headlined, Aston Machan, Sudden Death.
No.
Death due to acute heart failure.
Uh,
The article continued, Aston Machan, last year.
You know what? Now that I think about it, maybe that's why she lost that race and got 10th. She didn't have the energy to full sprint. I didn't really consider that.
Sprinter Stakes winner, who had been treated at the Retail Training Center Clinic for colitis, died on April 21st, 2008. She had 11 career starts and 5 wins, including 4 graded victories. Colitis is colitis of unknown causes. According to a JRA doctor, Kiminobu Yoshinari, mental factors such as stress are also considered. Only 5 to 6 horses per year develop it in the JRA.
Man.
Some recover, and some do not. Machan had received dedicated treatment for about 2 months, but the staff's wishes for her to recover would never be fulfilled. To say Machan's death hit her team hard would be a drastic understatement. No one took the loss more severely than Ishizaka, who was haunted by regret and blamed himself for Machan's premature passing. Her instability, though often seen as overexcitement, was a sign that Ishizaka truly feels he ignored. Though this video has shown clear care for Aston Machan,
I mean, you can't really blame yourself for that, but I can understand why he would feel personally guilty. Obviously, you can say all day and night, like, it's not your fault, but sometimes, you know, if you feel that way, you feel that way.
Ishizaka truly felt he could have done more to care for her, to properly address her mental instability. Reporter Daiki Matsunami will later publish just how much Machan's declining health impacted Ishizaka. A phone call had come to inform Matsunami of Machan's condition. At the time, he was with trainer Ishizaka, who heard each word relayed about Machan's declining health. Matsunami described his expression as solemn. Ishizaka truly loved Aston Machan, and even with the struggle getting her suited to certain aptitudes, he always tried his best to make sure everything ran smoothly. Matsunami would continue, contrasting this moment of sadness When Ishizaka relayed their plan to have Machan race in the sprinter stakes, Matsunami gleefully recalled Ishizaka's grin when he announced Nakadate's addition to the team. Some judged Ishizaka's choice with Machan's career, but ultimately, Matsunami stood behind his belief that Ishizaka was the best choice. This experience of grief would later influence the training of one of the strongest fillies Ishizaka would work with, Gentle Donna. Learning from the grief and regret of Aston Machan, he'd aimed to look after Gentle Donna more intensely, ensuring such carelessness wasn't allowed to happen again. Aston Machan, despite being born in a strong generation, one defined by Sunday Silence blood, would blaze her own path. She was described as a charming filly, and through her journey of hardship, had gained an idol-like popularity. As the years progressed though, she began to fade to a distant memory, behind the shadow of Scarlet and Vodka. This would be the reason Machan aims to never be forgotten in the world of Uma Musume, the reason she's behind the shadow of Vodka and Scarlet, and why she appears so often looking directly into the camera. She wants you to remember her. The only way her legacy can continue is if she's never forgotten. A silent but desperate plea, masked behind a gleaming smile, and eyes longing for the adoration she received during her time racing. This was the story of Aston Machan, a filly who paved her own legacy, and against Japan's strongest, still left a mark on the racing world. Personified in Uma Musume by a soft-spoken Uma with a deep compassion for her fans, and a yearning to never be forgotten. Did you enjoy this video? And what
We did enjoy this video, and she will not be forgotten.
was your favorite part? Be sure to let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you all for joining me, and as always, I will see you all in the next video.
Never forget. Never forget. That was a good video. I really enjoyed that a ton. Let's drop a like, and we are already subscribed. But that was good. That was really, really, really good.